Welcome back to Stoic Spirit, the channel dedicated to exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and its practical application in modern life. Have you ever been cut off in traffic and felt that surge of rage? Or had your day ruined by a frustrating email, a missed deadline, or a disagreement with a loved one? Anger is a common human experience, a powerful emotion that can hijack our minds and lead to regrettable actions. But what if I told you there's a better way? In this video, we're diving deep into the ancient philosophy of Stoicism to discover how its principles can help you conquer anger, transform frustration into opportunity, and cultivate a life of greater peace and resilience. Stoicism offers practical tools for managing your emotions, navigating challenging situations, and responding to life's inevitable setbacks with wisdom and grace. Stay tuned to learn how to transform anger from a destructive force into a catalyst for personal growth. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Spirit for more insights on living a more fulfilling and meaningful life, inspired by the wisdom of the Stoics. 1. The root of anger, judgment. The Stoics, those ancient masters of reason and self-control, held a powerful insight into the nature of anger. It's not the external events themselves that ignite our fury, but rather our judgments about those events. This profound understanding offers a liberating key to managing anger, allowing us to reclaim our emotional equilibrium and navigate life's inevitable frustrations with greater wisdom and grace. Let's unpack this Stoic wisdom using the common example of a traffic jam. Imagine yourself stuck in a sea of motionless cars, the minutes ticking by, and a growing sense of frustration building within you. Next, ask yourself, what is the true source of this anger? Is it the inert metal and plastic surrounding you? The sheer volume of vehicles clogging the road? Or is it something else entirely? The Stoics would argue that your anger stems not from the traffic itself, but from your thoughts about the traffic. You're not enraged by the mere presence of cars, but by the idea that you'll be late. This thought, in turn, is fueled by a deeper, often unexamined, judgment that punctuality is of paramount importance, a non-negotiable virtue that must be upheld at all costs. But what if we challenge this underlying judgment? What if, instead of clinging to the rigid belief that being on time is an absolute necessity, we allow ourselves to consider alternative perspectives? What if being a few minutes late, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't the end of the world? This is where the transformative power of Stoic philosophy comes into play. By recognizing that our anger is rooted in our judgments, not in external reality, we gain the power to reframe our thinking and choose a different emotional response. We can begin to question the validity and helpfulness of our judgments, asking ourselves, is this belief truly serving me? Is it contributing to my overall well-being? Or is it simply fueling unnecessary stress and frustration? Perhaps, upon reflection, we realize that punctuality, while important, is not the ultimate virtue. Perhaps we recognize that unforeseen delays are a natural part of life, beyond our control, and that clinging to rigid expectations only amplifies our suffering. Perhaps we discover that a few minutes of tardiness is a small price to pay for preserving our inner peace and avoiding the damaging effects of chronic anger. This shift in perspective, this willingness to question our ingrained judgments, is the key to unlocking emotional freedom. It allows us to detach from the external triggers of anger and reclaim control over our inner world. It empowers us to choose a more reasoned and balanced response, even in the face of frustrating circumstances. Furthermore, this Stoic principle extends beyond the realm of traffic jams. It applies to a myriad of situations that can trigger anger: a frustrating coworker, a missed deadline, a disagreement with a loved one. In each of these scenarios, the Stoic approach invites us to examine our judgments, to question our assumptions, and to consider alternative perspectives. By cultivating this habit of self-reflection, we begin to recognize the patterns of thought that fuel our anger, We gain insight into the underlying beliefs and values that shape our emotional responses. And with this awareness comes the power to choose. We can choose to cling to our rigid judgments and continue to be ruled by our anger. Or we can choose to loosen our grip, to embrace flexibility, and to cultivate a more peaceful and resilient way of being in the world. This doesn't mean suppressing our anger or pretending it doesn't exist. Rather, it's about engaging with our anger in a more conscious and constructive way. It's about understanding its origins, challenging its underlying assumptions, and choosing a response that aligns with our values and contributes to our overall well-being. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: to live in accordance with reason, to accept what we cannot control, and to focus our energies on what lies within our power, our thoughts, our judgments, and our choices. 2. Focus on what you can control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a powerful principle: focus on what you can control. This seemingly simple idea has profound implications for navigating the complexities of life, particularly when it comes to managing challenging emotions like anger and frustration. The Stoics understood that much of the world lies beyond our direct control: the weather, the actions of others, the past, and the future. Clinging to the desire to control these external forces is a recipe for disappointment, anxiety, and ultimately, unhappiness. Instead, they encouraged us to turn our attention inwards, focusing on the one realm where we truly hold sway: our own thoughts, actions, and reactions. This principle is beautifully illustrated by the example of being stuck in traffic. You're late for an important meeting. The cars are barely moving, and your frustration is mounting. In this situation, it's tempting to fixate on the uncontrollable, the endless line of vehicles, the seemingly incompetent drivers, the unfairness of it all. But the Stoics would gently remind us, you can't magically clear the traffic. No amount of wishing, complaining, or honking will alter the reality of the situation. Your energy, in this moment, is being wasted on something entirely beyond your influence. What is within your control, however, is your response to the situation. You can choose to succumb to anger and frustration, letting these emotions consume you and further exacerbating your stress. Or you can choose a different path, a path aligned with Stoic principles. You can choose to take a few deep breaths, calming your nervous system and shifting your focus from the external chaos to your internal state. You can choose to listen to a podcast or an audiobook, turning the wasted time into an opportunity for learning or entertainment. Or you can simply choose to accept the delay, recognizing it as an unavoidable part of life and choosing to make the best of the situation. This shift in focus, from the uncontrollable to the controllable, is not about passive resignation. It's about a proactive and empowering choice to direct our energies towards what we can influence: our own inner world. By focusing on our thoughts, actions, and reactions, we reclaim a sense of agency and control in situations that might otherwise feel overwhelming. We transform from victims of circumstance into active participants in shaping our own experience. Furthermore, this Stoic principle has far-reaching implications beyond the realm of traffic jams. It applies to countless situations we encounter daily: a difficult conversation with a colleague, a setback in our career, a disagreement with a loved one. In each of these scenarios, the Stoic approach invites us to ask ourselves, what is within my control here? Perhaps it's our tone of voice, our choice of words, our willingness to listen and understand. Perhaps it's our decision to approach the situation with patience and empathy, rather than with anger and judgment. Perhaps it's our commitment to learning from the experience, even if it's unpleasant. By consistently focusing on what we can control, we cultivate a sense of inner resilience. We become less reactive to external events and more capable of navigating life's inevitable challenges with grace and composure. We develop a stronger sense of self-efficacy, knowing that even when the world around us feels chaotic and unpredictable, we still have the power to choose our own response. This Stoic practice also fosters a greater sense of peace and contentment. By releasing the need to control the uncontrollable, we free ourselves from the constant striving and anxiety that often accompany this futile pursuit. We learn to accept the imperfections of life, recognizing that some things are simply beyond our influence. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up or becoming apathetic. Rather, it's about recognizing the limits of our power and choosing to focus our energies on what truly matters: our own character, our values, and our actions. In essence, the Stoic principle of focusing on what we can control is a path towards greater self-mastery. It's about cultivating a mindset of empowerment, resilience, and inner peace. It's about recognizing that true freedom lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our own internal landscape. By embracing this principle, we can navigate the complexities of life with greater clarity, wisdom, and ultimately, a deeper sense of fulfillment. 3. Practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness, the practice of cultivating present moment awareness without judgment, is a powerful tool for navigating the complexities of human experience, particularly when it comes to managing challenging emotions like anger. In the Stoic tradition, mindfulness is not merely a relaxation technique, but a crucial element of living a virtuous and fulfilling life. It allows us to create a space between our feelings and our reactions, empowering us to respond to challenging situations with wisdom and intention rather than being swept away by impulsive reactions. At its core, mindfulness is about paying attention to our present moment experience, our thoughts, sensations, emotions, and surroundings without getting carried away by them. It's about observing our inner world with a sense of curiosity and acceptance, rather than with judgment or criticism. This non-judgmental awareness is crucial for managing anger because it allows us to recognize the emotion as it arises without immediately reacting to it. Imagine this: someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate reaction might be a surge of anger, accompanied by a desire to retaliate or express your frustration. However, if you're practicing mindfulness, you might notice the anger arising in your body, the clenching in your stomach, the tension in your shoulders, the quickening of your breath. You observe these sensations without judgment, simply acknowledging their presence. This act of mindful observation creates a crucial space, a pause between the stimulus being cut off and your response. This space is where the magic of mindfulness happens. It allows you to choose how you want to respond, rather than simply reacting out of habit or impulse. Instead of laying on the horn or yelling obscenities, you might take a deep breath, reminding yourself that the other driver's actions are beyond your control. You might choose to focus on your own safety, gently adjusting your driving to avoid a collision. Or you might simply acknowledge the anger and allow it to dissipate, recognizing its impermanent nature. Next, let's explore a simple breathing exercise that can help you cultivate mindfulness in your daily life. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down. Close your eyes gently and bring your attention to your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and then slowly leaving your body. Take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and slowly exhale. Repeat this several times, focusing solely on the sensation of your breath. If your mind wanders, which it inevitably will, gently guide your attention back to your breath. This simple practice, repeated regularly, can have a profound impact on your ability to manage anger. It trains your mind to become more aware of your emotions as they arise, giving you the opportunity to choose a more skillful response. It strengthens your capacity for self-regulation, allowing you to pause before reacting and to act with greater intention and wisdom. Furthermore, mindfulness cultivates a deeper understanding of the impermanent nature of our emotions. By observing our feelings without judgment, we begin to recognize that they are not fixed or permanent states, but rather fleeting experiences that arise, peak, and eventually subside. This understanding can be incredibly helpful in diffusing the intensity of anger. When we recognize that our anger is a temporary phenomenon, we're less likely to be consumed by it. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of connecting our mindful awareness to our actions. They believe that true wisdom lies not just in observing our inner world, but also in acting in accordance with our values and principles. By cultivating present moment awareness, we become more attuned to the impact of our actions on ourselves and others. This awareness can help us to choose responses that align with our values, even in challenging situations. In the context of anger, this might mean choosing to communicate our feelings assertively but respectfully, rather than lashing out in a way that could damage relationships. It might mean choosing to address the root causes of our anger, rather than simply suppressing or ignoring the emotion. It might mean choosing to forgive ourselves and others, recognizing that we all make mistakes and that holding on to anger only perpetuates suffering. By integrating mindfulness into our daily lives, we cultivate a greater sense of presence, awareness, and self-control. We become less reactive to triggers and more capable of navigating the complexities of human experience with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. This is the essence of the Stoic approach to mindfulness, not just observing our inner world, but using that awareness to live a more virtuous and fulfilling life. 4. Recognizing impermanence. The Stoics, in their pursuit of wisdom and tranquility, emphasized a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. Everything is temporary. This principle, often referred to as the doctrine of impermanence, applies not only to the external world around us, but also to our inner landscape, our thoughts, emotions, and even our sense of self. Recognizing this impermanence, particularly in the context of challenging emotions like anger, can be a powerful tool for cultivating greater equanimity and navigating life's inevitable ups and downs with grace and resilience. Consider the nature of anger. It arises suddenly, like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon, often accompanied by a surge of physiological responses, a racing heart, clenched fists, a heated flush in the face. It can feel overwhelming, all-consuming, as if it will last forever. But the Stoics remind us, even this powerful emotion is transient, like a passing cloud or a flowing river. Anger, too, will eventually dissipate. It is not a permanent fixture of our being, but a fleeting experience that arises, peaks, and ultimately subsides. Recognizing this impermanence can be incredibly liberating. When we're caught in the grip of anger, it can feel as though we're trapped, powerless against its force. But the Stoic perspective offers a different lens through which to view this experience. It reminds us that this too shall pass. The intensity of the emotion, the physiological arousal, the mental agitation, all of these are temporary phenomena. This understanding allows us to create a sense of distance between ourselves and the emotion, to observe it without becoming completely engulfed by it. This detachment doesn't mean suppressing or denying our anger. Rather, it's about recognizing its transient nature and choosing not to identify with it completely. It's about acknowledging that we are experiencing anger, but we are not defined by our anger. This subtle shift in perspective can significantly diminish the power anger holds over us. Furthermore, the Stoic concept of impermanence encourages us to cultivate a broader perspective on our experiences. When we understand that everything is in constant flux, that nothing remains static, we become less attached to the outcomes of events. We recognize that both positive and negative experiences are temporary, and this understanding allows us to navigate both with greater equanimity. We can savor the joys of life without clinging to them desperately, knowing that they will eventually fade. And we can endure the challenges of life without becoming overwhelmed by despair, knowing that they too will eventually pass. This perspective can be particularly helpful in dealing with the aftermath of anger. Often, after an outburst of anger, we're left with feelings of guilt, shame, or regret. These emotions, too, are subject to the law of impermanence. They will not last forever. By recognizing this, we can avoid spiraling into a cycle of self-criticism and instead focus on learning from the experience. We can ask ourselves, what triggered my anger? What judgments fuel my reaction? How can I respond differently in the future? This process of reflection, guided by the Stoic principle of impermanence, allows us to transform negative experiences into opportunities for growth. It encourages us to cultivate greater self-awareness, to refine our emotional responses, and to move forward with wisdom and compassion. In practical terms, we can cultivate an awareness of impermanence by observing the natural world around us. The changing seasons, the ebb and flow of the tides, the growth and decay of plants. All of these serve as constant reminders that everything is in a state of continuous transformation. By attuning ourselves to these natural rhythms, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the transient nature of our own experiences. Ultimately, the Stoic embrace of impermanence is a path towards greater peace and acceptance. It's about recognizing that life is a constant flow of change, and that by resisting this flow, we only create unnecessary suffering. By accepting the impermanence of all things, including our own emotions, we can cultivate a more resilient and balanced way of being in the world, navigating life's inevitable challenges with greater wisdom, grace, and inner peace. So, to recap, if you want to conquer anger and cultivate greater peace of mind, remember these 4 key Stoic principles. Understand that anger stems from your judgments, not external events. Focus your energy on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions. Practice mindfulness to create space between your feelings and your responses. And remember that everything is temporary, including your anger. Put these principles into practice, and you'll find yourself navigating life's inevitable challenges with greater ease, resilience, and wisdom. Share your experiences and insights in the comments below. We'd love to hear how Stoicism is impacting your life. And for more Stoic wisdom, practical tips, and inspiring insights, be sure to subscribe to Stoic Spirit. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our latest videos. Thanks for watching.